Hi everyone, my name is Zach, and in this video I want to quickly show you how you can put together a quick lighting setup to light up and present your dynamic topology sculptings in a nice way. This is also important if you just want to create your materials to see how they are behaving in terms of reflection and stuff like this. Also, I will show you how to quickly use HDRI maps to light up your scene, and I want to give you a short insight on how I set up the lighting for the teaser of this workshop. Alright, without further words, let's get started. So this should not be a full introduction into lighting and stuff like this, because this is a huge topic. And if you want to dive deeper into the topic lighting, I would recommend to take a look at the YouTube channel of Gleb Alexandrov. He's doing amazing Blender tutorials and also a lot of stuff related to lighting in Blender. So in this video, we just want to focus how we can quickly add some light to our scene, because light is on the one hand important if you just want to create your materials, to in actual fact see what you are doing, and on the other hand certainly to create some nice renderings, turntables and stuff like this to basically showcase your dynamic topology sculptings. So I've prepared my scene here. I just have the little cute monster here with a clay shader on it. I have my camera already adjusted so I can see the little creature here. And I have this big ground plane here where we want to have some shadows. It's always good if you're lighting up your scene to split your 3D viewport. And on the one side you can see the 3D viewport, and on the other side you hit Shift-C to render your viewport. And if you just want to render the stuff that is inside the camera, press Ctrl-B and basically select the camera, and then you have this border around this camera. You can press Ctrl-Alt-B to remove this border. Also you can set smaller render borders to only see a little part here. But yeah, I select the whole thing here. And now you can see, although we don't have any lamps in our scene, the scene is bright. And that's because the background is gray. And the gray background is also lighting up our scene here. But in most cases, if I want to present my model nicely, I go to the world settings here and set the strength of the background to 0. So we just have everything in black. Now let's add a lamp. And in most cases, if I use lamp objects, I'm using the area lamp. So here I just want to talk about the area lamp. So if I'm moving this up, you can see we have this square, and this is lighting up our scene. And basically the bigger the square is, the softer the shadows will be, and the smaller the square is, the harder the shadow will be. One important thing I did not mention yet: we are using the Cycles render engine. This is important because Blender uses Blender Render as default. And if then somewhere, like here, appears a big button with the title Use Nodes, simply click on this, then these settings will be converted for Cycles. So now you can see the lamp is pretty strong. So let's go over to the lamp settings. This is only possible if the area lamp is selected. And here you can, for example, change the color and the strength of the lamp, like here, adjusting the color or the strengths. And certainly if I duplicate this, you can use as many lamps as you like. But how can we set this up that this looks nicely? Before we start, let's adjust the ground. Let's select the ground, because the ground is also interacting with our creature. And at the end, I want to render this as transparent, also with transparent ground. And then we can use this to put on any other background, for example. So let's go to the render settings, film, and enable transparent. And then you can see this checker pattern back here. That means this will be rendered as transparent if you set the output settings right. But I also wanted to render the floor as transparent. That means we are selecting the floor, go to the object settings, and down here under cycle settings, we enable shadow catcher. That means the object will be transparent, but the shadow will stay. And this is pretty cool. But right now, it will just show us the original shadow. In many cases, this is certainly pretty cool. But I just want to have this very simple shadow around the base here, and not, for example, if I have a lamp behind this object, this long shadow to the front here, then at the edge it will be cut off. And sometimes I don't want to have this way. So let's shortly disable the shadow catcher here, go to the material settings of the ground, add a new material, And here on the surface, usually as default, we are using the diffuse shader. But here let's switch to the ambient occlusion shader. And now you can see it only has this white color, and we have this ambient occlusion shadow underneath the creature. That means the shadow from the lamp will be ignored for the ground. To adjust the ambient occlusion shadow, we can go to the world settings, ambient occlusion, and here, for example, we can change the distance. You can see if I set this to 1 centimeter, the shadow is super small, and if I increase this, you can see how this shadow will increase. And you can see this shadow will only be generated where the object is pretty close to the ground here. So, and if we are setting this now back to shadow catcher, we only have this very simple shadow. So, and also you still have to keep in mind that the color of this ambient occlusion, if we are disabling the two lamps, is also lighting up our creature here. You can see if I have the lamps disabled, since the ground is white, this will also light up our creature from the bottom. So if you don't want to have this set bright, you can darken this, and also you can change the color if you like. It's always nice to have a little bit light from the bottom, but yeah, certainly you should not do it too strong. So this is indirect lighting which we are using here, and yeah, you can use it for your benefit. But yeah, I just leave it gray here for our example. Now let's enable the one lamp here and let's delete the other one. And now, if I increase the light here, you can see that pretty fast this is overblown here in the back. And this looks not that nice. And there's one cool setting which you can enable, which will make your render extremely more realistic and gives us a little bit more creative freedom for lighting up our scene. And what I mean is, under color management, the filmic view transform. Now you can see when I switch to filmic, this somehow changes. And the cool thing about filmic is that we now can use very high values for the lamps, and we have not this overblown effect. Also, what you can do here is under look, you can change the contrast, which also leads to some cool effects sometimes. If you want to learn more about this filmic blender, I will not cover how this works in this video here. I will leave you some links in the video description with tutorials which show how this whole thing works and what you can do with this. So I just recommend enable filmic, set this to base contrast or one of the other contrasts, and then we can start lighting up our scene. So the one most important thing you can do to add professional lighting to your object is to add a rim light. That means we are creating a lamp which is shining from behind. And we are positioning this in a way that we can see this nice rim light here. That means we're supporting the silhouette of this creature here. So this is basically one of the most important things I do. And in this way, this looks pretty professional already. And here it's very important that the strength of the lamp is high enough so that we have this very strong rim light here. So I think in this case, something around 100 is fine. And what you also can do, if I press scale S, then X 2 times, we can scale this in the local X direction of this object here. And if I make this lamp longer, then you can see I also have this rim light here on this side, for example. We also can switch down here to local, then we can also move this in the local axis. And then we also can increase the strength because the lamp is now bigger. And then you would have this rim light from multiple sides. Let's not do this too strong. And the other thing that you can do is to add another area lamp to the front here. And there's a nice little trick to rotate lamps around your object. You can see my 3D cursor with Shift Z is now in the center. It's lying directly in the center of my creature. And then down here, the pivot point I set to 3D cursor. And now if I rotate, you can see it uses the 3D cursor as rotation axis. And this way you easily can change the rotation. So I would not put it in the same direction of the camera, because then your whole object is just bright and you can't see the shape of the object anymore that well. So I would put it a little bit to the side, something like this. And also to see the rim light better, we can reduce the strength here. So, and if this should happen that now this area here is too dark, you can also duplicate this again, put one light to this side here and decrease the strength even more. And then we have this very simple 3-point lighting setup, which works pretty well with this. But yeah, if you want to have this a little bit more dramatic, then certainly we can remove this lamp again, maybe reduce the strength here as well, and maybe increase the strength of the rim light here. So, and if we now put the contrast a little bit higher, then this looks pretty interesting, as you can see. But yeah, in general, I try to keep the lighting as simple as possible. So in most cases, I'm not using more than 2 or 3 lamps. So I now show you another quick way how to light up your scene using HDRI maps. An HDRI map is a 360-degree image with a very high dynamic range in it. So basically the light is captured in this image and will also affect our scene. There are a lot of awesome free high quality HDRIs on hdrihaven.com. I really recommend to use this HDRIs, and if you want to support the creator, you can also support him on Patreon, for example. So I've already downloaded a bunch of HDRIs, and now let's go to the world settings, surface, behind color, let's click on the dot and go to environment texture, and then click on open. And now let's simply grab this 4K texture and open the image. And now let's increase the strength to 1. And let's quickly disable the transparent background. And now you can see this HDRI map is placed in the background and will be used as lighting information. That means we have some light from the top here, and this will affect this creature like if this would be placed in this room here. And by the way, this is the location where the Blender conference takes place every year in Amsterdam. And I guess this guy here, it's me. Alright, and yeah, to show you the effect even better, let's also take another one. Something like this. And then you can see, let's set the background back to transparent. Now we have only the lighting, and this looks pretty realistic because we not only have the sunlight here, we also have the indirect light from the sky and other stuff, and also we have the nice reflection of this HDRI. And let's go to the texture settings up here, select the environment texture, and then you can rotate this in the Z direction, and then you can basically change the rotation of the background image, and in this way also the lighting of your scene. And as you can see, without any lights, we easily can light up our creature here. And certainly you can also combine this with lights. So I can use this as rim light, for example, maybe increase the strength if I like. And then I can certainly add area lamps here to add some additional lighting here. Yeah, and this easy you can light up your scenes. So now I want to give you a short insight on how I lit the teaser for this workshop. And as you can see, it's super simple. We have basically 2 lamps here. This one area lamp from the side and this area lamp from the bottom, this one here. And as you can see, if I move through the animation, I also rotated this lamp and changed the position and also adjusted the strength and stuff like this. How you can animate all that, I will show you in another video. Here I only want to talk about the lighting itself. So I just rendered this scene. Don't ask me why this is so big up here. So my goal here was to achieve this mysterious look because I wanted to present something that people might not recognize in the first few shots. And in this way I animated the camera and the lamp so that the lamp is most of the time on the opposite direction from the camera. And then we have this very nice rim light effect, as you can see. And the rest of the creature is pretty dark. But yeah, this was intentional. We also have this green shine here from the bottom. And this is caused by 2 things. On the one hand, this is caused by the ground in actual fact. Let's turn off the lamp on the bottom. And if I disable the ground, you can see this is just black. I mean, this already looks pretty interesting. But yeah, as you can see, if I enable the ground, This has a very simple diffuse shader on it with this green color, and this is lighting up this creature from below. And yeah, to support this green effect, because in some shots you can't see this that well, I added this additional lamp on the bottom here, which also adds this green color to the creature. And most of the time this lamp just stays there, only in the shot where we can see the feet, this one here, I animated the position of the lamp, as you can see. Because if we take a look on this here, the feet here now are lit from below, and if the feet have contact with the ground, there should be in shadow, because otherwise this looks not that realistic. And because of that I animated this in the position, and then we don't have this light from below. So, and also I played around with the light so that I can tell a story. So if we take a look from the start, the light just shows the silhouette of the creature, of the details we can see, and just reveal that there is something interesting. And step by step we can see more of the creature. So we have an idea, okay, this is maybe a creature or a dragon or something like this. We can see the scales here, and then at some point we can see the feet, and then we know, okay, this is some kind of creature. And in the last few shots here, I showed a little bit more of the details, and especially in this one here, you can see that also the light is supporting my storytelling, because the light is rotating in a way that the head is at some point lit, so that we can see the full head, and then we know this is this creature. And yeah, in this way I use the lighting. You can see the light setup is super simple, it's nothing complicated, but for this special case it works perfectly. At the end I did some color grading in Adobe Premiere Pro, where I edited this whole teaser, but this should not be part of this video. I just can quickly show you how to add some color grading directly here in Blender. You can either do it in the compositor, which I would recommend if you do it in Blender, but if you just want to do some color grading and see it on the live render preview, you can do it under Scene, Color Management. Here we enable this Filmic Blender, and there you can, for example, change the contrast using this Look contrast. This already works pretty fine in some cases. We can change the exposure to make it brighter or darker, and also the gamma to basically brighten up the dark areas here. And then we have the curves down here. So with the curves we also can change the brightness, for example, but more important, we can also change the red, green and blue channel. And for my final color grading I did something like this, that I added a little bit more blue to the shadows down here, just a very bit. And in the light areas I removed the blue a bit. That means this will be a little bit more yellowish. Maybe let's increase the exposure a bit. Then you have something similar that I did for the final teaser. Alright guys, that's it with this video. Now you have a basic understanding on how to place your lamps inside your scene to light up your dynamic topology sculptings and make a nice static or turntable render. How to animate the cameras we will discuss in another video.